about that percentage of people who either would need to take on debt or couldn't afford to pay it all. Walk us through the demographics. Who does that group represent?
Yeah, thanks for having me. The demographics are particularly important right now because we know that recently inflation has been disproportionately hitting lower income and middle income folks, and I think we're seeing that in results. So one of the big takeaways is just how large of a share lower income adults are represented in terms of not being able to pay with cash or cash equivalents with a $400 expense. We see it as well when looking at younger adults, and I think it's not surprising, again, given some of the challenges we're facing right now in the jobs market.
And this could only potentially get worse, couldn't it, in terms of if there is more struggles in the banking sector or the United States is not able to deal with the debt ceiling crisis? That does not exude confidence in these individuals I imagine you were surveying.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's one of the big takeaways from this is that despite having basically 2 years of robust jobs growth, a really resilient economy, we've got almost half the population, just over half the population is living paycheck to paycheck, not able to pay for an unexpected $400 expense. If we were to see a sustained drop-off in employment, that's where a lot of these folks, I think, are gonna really struggle to pay the bills going forward. And you're gonna see that, of course, in terms of defaults and credit issues, but also longer term, I think it sets up the stage for sluggish growth going forward.
If this ultimately comes down to just the impact of inflation and wages not keeping up with it, can you give us some insight into how this compares to, say, 2019, pre-inflationary spike?
It has a lot to do with inflation, although I should say I think there's also some very significant policy implications here. Namely, we see on the actual expenses when people are actually faced with a $400 or with an unexpected expense, it tends to be a medical expense or something related to childcare or education. And so it's not that like this is just coming out of nowhere. This is a reflection of the system that the U.S. has right now where folks don't necessarily have full health care coverage and have to pay a lot out of pocket. And I think that's one of the big takeaways is that this is not, as I said, this is not just a sort of a near-term issue. A lot of times this reflects longer-term policy debates.